Hello, welcome back to Far Horizons Gaming. My name is Ben, and today we're going to continue on with Suzerain. So last time out, we gave our State of the Union address, signed some presidential decrees, and found out about Petr's secret. So we're going to pick it up here with this report over here from Lockhaven. Let's see, the National Business Council requests fiscal conservatism. NBC issued a warning about the government budget deficit, which occurred in the third year of the administration. Leadership figures from the private and state sectors brought forward complaints that the country could head towards a debt crisis if the situation is left unchecked. Experts have sounded the alarm about a potential credit rating downgrade in this situation if a better balance won't be achieved soon. So our budget isn't that bad. It's -1. I mean, it's not great, but it's better than it was my last playthrough. Whatever. Anyway, the newspaper, we've got one from the Radical here. Rage Against the Dark. Today, President Rain has formed the Swordfish Supreme Council of Radio and Television by decree and given the organization extensive powers to censor. The council, made up of state officials and biased experts, started shutting down any news they determined to be anti-government. Radical has immediately received an operational cease and desist letter. The first act of the fascist SSCTV organization was to shut down the few voices left in the country that dare to speak the truth, be it good or bad. It is with a heavy heart that we have to announce the closure of the Radical. Our outlet was established many years ago with the mission to enlighten the people of this country. In many ways, we fought hard to achieve our goal, but this beacon of light is shutting down for now. We will rage against the dark. Find us. Awesome. I don't know, that newspaper's pretty annoying anyway, so it's kind of fun to see them get shut down. Sweet. Alright, let's head to Whole Sword here. Start the day at the palace, which I'm assuming is going to be talking to Lucian about Petr. Yep. It was early in the morning after my talk with Petr. The sun was just beginning to peek over the horizon. The Maroon Palace was empty save for a few cleaning staff. I entered my office to find Lucian already waiting for me.
Mr. President, thank you for meeting with me at this hour.
Yeah, I couldn't sleep anyway.
Very well. I'm pleased that you chose to call me after your conversation with Mr. Vector last night, although I was already aware of his illicit relationship with Miss Suno.
How did you find out?
I'll get to that. It's nothing creepy at all. On its own, given Mr. Vectron's established reputation as something of a playboy, the affair is unlikely to cause much damage. However, a more troubling possibility has been brought to light. A recent conversation with Mr. Hailstone, a whistleblower from Rumberg, revealed the presence of a spy within the Maroon Palace. I believe Miss Suno is on board. She's been using her relationship with Mr. Vector to gather information.
Tell me more.
I can do better than that. I'll show you.
Lucian reached into his coat pocket, pulled out an audio tape, and fed it into the reel-to-reel machine on my desk.
This is recorded in the palace at 1809, following our return from the meeting with David Vichy and Benvie.
He pressed play. I heard Petr and Livy's voices. You sure everyone's gone for the day? Oh, good Alexa, if you don't have presents sick bazaars to worry about tonight. Livia giggled. I heard the sound of kissing and then of drinks being poured. I miss you and Benvie. Did he tell you why he decided not to make a deal with the Lesbia Voxen? He's not interested in forming any alliances? Something about staying as neutral as possible. Well, that doesn't seem to apply to the superpowers. Let us talk about possible cooperation. I don't know if it works. Miss Suno, I want you bent over my desk. Now. Lucian grimaced and switched the tape off. And then what happened?
You don't need to hear the rest of it. The important question is, why so much curiosity about these particular alliances, if not because they can strengthen us against Rumberg? And that's not all. I found a resume and file, and there's a year-long gap between finishing secretarial school and the beginning of your career. Normally, this would have been looked into, but Miss Suno was hired before a background check could be completed, by one Petr Vector.
Just then, there's a knock on the door. Livia opened it cautiously. Good morning, Mr. President, Mr. Goulart. I didn't realize you'd be in so early. Can I get you some coffee? Yeah, coffee would be great, actually. Livia left to make coffee. A few minutes later, she came back with 2 cups.
Please have a seat, Miss Suno.
Livia sat. She looked puzzled. Is something the matter?
Enough pretending. Your secret is out.
I'm not sure what you're talking about. Come on, Livia. Petr already told me everything. Livia buried her face in her hands. I'm so sorry, Mr. President. I was foolish, and Petr was nice to me, but it's over now. Nobody ever needs to know.
That's not what the President means, Miss Suno. We're referring to you being an intelligent agent for Rumberg.
Olivia sat upright. She looked shocked. Pardon me, Mr. Galab, are you feeling all right? He's fine. What do you have to say for yourself? Mr. President, I understand if you don't want me to keep my job, but why smear me with outlandish accusations?
Miss Suno, indulge me for a moment. What were you doing in the year 1951?
Olivia's face flushed. If you must know, I was working as a cigarette girl at Porto's. It's in a Lockhaven saloon. I was saving up so I could afford my own place and all sort. Here's the proprietor's number if you need to double check. She scribbled the telephone number on a piece of paper. Lucien snatched it up. I mean, it's not suspicious at all that she just happens to have his phone number memorized from like 4 years ago. If not longer, I'm not even sure what year it is anymore. Let's see, let's go with this one. But why were you asking Petr about my alliances? To tell the truth, Mr. Rain, I was hoping to run for office myself someday. I want to make a real difference in the world, like Miss Mogna and Miss Valda. But I guess I messed up by getting involved with Petr. Now they're all just going to say I set my way to the top. Wait, how did you know about the conversation? There was a loud pounding on the door. Petr barged in without waiting for an answer. He was unshaven and wore the same clothes as the night before. I came as soon as I heard the three of you were in here. Anton, what the hell are you doing? I told you I had this under control. Alright, more concerning, who the hell told him that we were all in here? There shouldn't be anybody else in the building right now. Sorry, Lucien already found out. Petr took a seat at the far end of the sofa. He looked over at Livia and noticed her troubled expression. God, why involve her? This is my mess. She did nothing wrong. She's a spy, Petr. You messed up big time. What?
I have reason to believe that she's been relaying information to Romberg, information that you leaked to her in your carelessness.
Lucien rewound the tape and played it again. As Petr listened, his eyes widened in disbelief. Lucien, you're a bastard. You've been bugging my office. Obviously for a good reason. Both Petr and Livia were glaring at Lucien now. He looked unrepentant.
I had noticed the Vice President's behavior becoming increasingly erratic and unprofessional in the past months. I wanted to get to the root of the cause.
So you wiretapped your goddamn colleague? And for what? Have you been getting off on this, you pervert?
Certainly not. I believe that along with the Romberg whistleblower's mission, there's a spy in the palace and set gaps in Masuna's resume. This state makes a compelling case to investigate the Secretary for Espionage. Whether or not the investigation yields positive results, Mr. Vector ought to be held accountable for his willingness to divulge such sensitive information. He ought to stand trial or, at the very least, resign.
Petr's jaw dropped. Livia stood up. If I may, Mr. President, I've been paying attention to what goes on in the palace, not because I'm some sort of agent, but out of genuine interest. Honest that may be for you to believe, Mr. Galab. She scowled at Lucy and then turned back to me. From what I've seen, this man has been attempting to undermine your Vice President every chance, perhaps with the goal of replacing Petr himself. Of course he'd say that. Petr's your lover. Livia looked at Petr on the other end of the couch. Her eyes softened. He was my lover. We've put this behind us. The two of you ought to do so as well. Lucien frowned.
My personal misgivings about Mr. Vector aside, I would never do anything to harm this administration. Mr. Vector, on the other hand, is at best committed adultery and at worst delivered state secrets straight into enemy hands.
Who could I believe? Let's do this. Lucien, can I speak to you alone for a moment? Petr and Livia exchanged worried glances before exiting my office.
What are you going to do, Mr. President?
I believe you. We should investigate Livia. Lucien breathed a sigh of relief.
I appreciate your trust in me. And, Mr. Vector, what will you do about his willingness to compromise soul and security at the drop of a pencil skirt?
I'll decide that once we have the results.
Very well. Just keep in mind you may need him to shoulder the blame for this.
Lucien adjusted his tie.
I'll apologize to Miss Suno and tell this has all been a misunderstanding. We can't have her running away during the investigation.
No, I'll do it myself. She's too suspicious of you.
Very well, sir.
Lucien gave a slight bow as he left the office. I sat by myself for a while, wondering what exactly I had set into motion. Awesome. Okay. So, journal is just, we are investigating, Livia. Alright, doesn't look like there are any any new notes, so let's just head right back. Oh, alright, that was fast. Results of the affair scandal. Several days had passed since I ordered the investigation into my secretary, Livia Suno. Both Petr and Livia had been acting unnaturally nice to me, believing I had let them off the hook for their affair. They seemed to be avoiding each other in the hallways, though. I was just settling in behind my desk when Lucy knocked on my door.
Sir, a moment of your time.
Yeah, of course. Lucian entered my office and closed the door behind him.
Our security team traveled to Lockheed to speak to the owners of the pub Miss Suno named. They confirmed that one Olivia Suno had worked there. Their description of her did not match that of your secretary. However, it did match that of an unidentified corpse washed up in Lenkirk Bay 2 months before your inauguration.
If that was Livia Suno, who's the woman working for me?
Further investigation by our operatives in Romberg matched Miss Suno's description to a woman named Ilana Vance, last seen graduated from Crimson Political Sciences Institute. Our whistleblower from Romberg recognized the name Vance as belonging to a deeply embedded covert agent, although he had previously assumed it was a man.
How could we have missed all this?
As mentioned, Miss Suno's hired without a background check. It's possible that all this could have been avoided had any of Mr. Vectron's blood flow been directed to his brain when he selected her. But none of that can be helped now. The question is, what are you going to do, sir?
Arrest her for espionage, of course.
That would be standard procedure. However, if we do so, it's only a matter of time before the media pieces tell you what happened.
Easy, I'll get Marcel on it.
Asking Mr. Cronty for help would be advisable, but you'll still have to do a fair amount of crisis management yourself, unless you opt to handle this another way. Mr. Greiser and his men could certainly take care of this in secret.
Yes, brilliant. Let's do that. What else do we have our secret state police for, if not to do shady shit like this?
All wise choice, sir.
By take care of, you mean secretly arrest, right?
What else could I have meant?
It's okay, Lucien. I know exactly what you mean. Lucien looked at me as if he was reading my mind.
If it made it look like an accident, another covert assassination could solve our problem before it even starts, but I understand if you still harbor fond feelings for Miss Vance.
Let's just have her arrested, and Petr too while we're at it. He's done enough harm to this administration. Lucien was trying very hard not to appear pleased.
As you wish. I'll call Mr. Greiser right away. It ought to be done by the end of today.
Cool. Keep me informed. Lucy nodded and walked out. I took a minute to gather my thoughts and left the room, taking my bottle of early maroon whiskey with me. My secretary was outside, typing up some correspondence at her desk. I'm sorry again for the misunderstanding, Lucien. You've got a brilliant career ahead of you. She looked at me a bit strangely. Thank you, Mr. President. I took one long, last look at her. I headed down the hall to Petr's office. I knocked on the door and Petr answered. He looked at the bottle of whiskey, then at me. Hello there, you two. What's the occasion? Do I need an occasion to have a drink with my friend? Anton, it's 7:30 in the morning. You should have brought this here like 2 hours ago. He cracked a smile. What are we waiting for? Alright, that's not much better than my joke. He brought out 2 glasses and I filled them up. We drank in silence for a moment. Lucian's right. I've been a miserable excuse for a vice president, but I'm ready to start over. No more affairs, no more being late, no more, well, less drinking. I just want to do right by you, Anton, as a colleague and a friend. We'll see. Petr's eyes had that old sparkle in them again. Have a nice one, old friend. I walked out, leaving the bottle on his desk. I returned home that evening and headed straight to my study, waiting for Carl to call. Nice. Alright. And nothing else. I'm assuming we're just going to keep going. Yep. It was late in the afternoon, and I was nervously pacing around my office. My new secretary would start next week. It had been several days since I'd had Carl Greiser secretly arrest Livia and Petr. It wouldn't be long before word got out that both the vice president and the president's secretary had gone missing. At Lucien's urging, I had arranged a press conference to get ahead of the narrative. Of course, our deal with Marcel Cronti meant journalists wouldn't be asking too many questions. Still, one had to keep up appearances. Conference was slated to begin soon. I rang up Carl.
Yes, Mr. President?
Where exactly are Mr. Vector and Miss Suna being held?
In individual cells at the top of Van Tel Rock, sir. Accessible by 2 guards, each of whom know only half the combination required to enter.
Tell the guards Petr can have a little steak once in a while, as a treat.
I will, sir.
The moment I hung up, Lucy knocked on my door, 'cause this dude's like a friggin' ninja.
It's time, Mr. President.
He and I made our way to the downstairs conference room. A dozen journalists were already waiting, notepads at the ready. They all stood up when we entered. Please be seated. Okay. Cool. So the guide says just answer. So, doesn't say anything specific. So let's just go with it. I would like to address the growing rumors concerning Vice President Petr Vector and my secretary Livia Suno. Unbeknownst to me and the rest of the administration, these two employees were carrying on a lurid affair in flagrant defiance of Sortish values. The journalists started talking. I motioned for quiet. Unfortunately, before they could be punished for their misdeeds, both disappeared. It is assumed that they ran away together. I am currently reviewing highly qualified candidates for both positions. By now, the reporters were nearly jumping out of their seats, hands raised. Now, that seemed like the best way to handle that, because I definitely don't want to talk about her being a spy. It seems really stupid. But yeah,
please be aware that the President only has time to answer a limited number of questions.
He gestured to the reporter at the far end of the table. Mr. President, how are you personally coping with this horrifying betrayal? It must be very hard on top of all the other stress you have to face in office. I said a silent prayer of thanks to Marcel Cronti. I mean, about as well as can be expected. I'm looking forward to having this all behind me. She and the other reporters nodded. I see, Mr. President. Thank you. Lucien smoothly interjected.
Thank you for your time, ladies and gentlemen. That'll be all for today.
Wow, that was much easier than it was last time. Alright, that deal's paying off in spades so far here. The reporters reluctantly left the conference room, leaving Lucy and myself alone. That went well.
Marcel Cronti has come through for us yet again. I'm not sure how much longer we can count on his kindness. In the meantime, sir, there's a matter of replacing both your secretary and your vice presidents.
You're a little old to be my secretary, Lucien.
Very funny, sir.
We left the conference room. On the long walk back to my office, I started to think about who my new vice president should be. Alright, so we got a codex update on Livia Suno. Alright, yeah, she was dismissed in 1956. Nice, right? I like how that's basically all it says, is that, we dismissed her. Some good cover-up of the facts. I love it. Okay. Sweet, and we're just sticking the whole sword here. So, let's, go ahead and select our new vice president. It was here, the day I've been dreading since Petr's imprisonment. At the entrance to my office, my new secretary Sylvia took my hat and coat. She was a matronly woman in her 40s. She had a spotless background assisting various Maroon Palace officials. Replacing Livia had been easy, but replacing my vice president would be difficult. Sortish law dictated that if the vice president failed to complete his term, new candidates were to be put forward by the members of the cabinet. After much deliberation, the list had been narrowed down to 3. Lucien Galad was a frontrunner, followed by Gloria Tori and Alban Clavin. It was up to me to decide who would fill Petr's shoes. I wanted to chat with them one-on-one before making my decision. I had just begun to set up my desk when I heard a knock at the door. Lucien entered and perched on the chair across from me.
Sir.
So, Vice President Galad, what do you think?
You already know what I think, Mr. President. In my current capacity as Chief Strategist, I've evaluated the experience and capabilities of your potential Vice Presidents. Objectively, I am by far the most qualified candidate. I would advise you not only to think about our long history together, but also the many crises I've helped shepherd you through. I won't say much beyond that. I believe my work speaks for itself.
You're such a valuable strategist. I don't know if I can afford to lose you in that capacity.
As Vice President, my ability to serve you in this administration will only increase.
Lucian got up from his chair.
I expect you'll make the right decision.
He left my office. Just a minute later, there's another knock on the door, and Gloria Tori came in. Mr. President, I must say I was not surprised at all when my name was put forward. You seem confident. I am, Mr. President. To put it simply, what I bring to the table is years of experience. I have been a member of the Assembly for almost 20 years and spent 7 as its Speaker. This alone speaks for itself. As you know, I am also the leader of the Conservative wing of the party. You can see what I'm getting at. You become the Vice President, and I get the votes from the Conservatives. Precisely. This would allow us to pass bills far more easily, especially if those bills are aligned to my block's causes. We are already aligned. Then that makes things easier, doesn't it? I want you to know that I value order above everything else, Mr. President. Being the Speaker of the Assembly requires principles, nerve, honesty, and determination to uphold proper conduct. You can expect to see the same of my Vice Presidency. I don't think Sorlin's ready for a female Vice President. I'm not just any woman, Mr. Rain. I was able to protect order in a room full of unruly men for 7 years. And think about the message it would send. The first woman Vice President in the whole continent. What support you lose among traditionalists, you gain tenfold among Swedish women. Which, kind of contradicts her whole point about winning over the Conservatives. But, you know, that's okay. There is much to gain from selecting me, Mr. President. I believe you'll make the right choice. You're right, there is much to gain. I will consider it. I knew you'd see reason. I wish you a nice day, Mr. President. Gloria made her way out. A minute later, there's another knock at the door. This time, it was Alban Clavin's turn. Greetings, Mr. President. It's a great honor to have been chosen as candidate. Really terrific. Yeah, I'm gonna be straightforward, brah. Why should I pick you? I think you already know the answer. As you know, I represent the reformist wing of the party. But so the need today is to not only to catch up to more modern neighbours, but to surpass them. I believe we can do that. No, I am sure. However, this will only be possible if we set aside the differences and unite as one. That is the outlook I wish to bring to the position of Vice President, so that Solden can excel and soar to new heights. Nonsense. Solden thrives on tradition. Striving for modernity will get us nowhere. That is certainly one opinion, yes. The fact is, if I am the Vice President, foremost members of our party will be more likely to support you and your causes. This will smooth the passage of bills and help move our administration and our country forward in record time. That makes sense, I guess. What this country needs is more dynamic, youthful leadership. Look at you, President Rain. You became the youngest member of the Assembly and completely rejuvenated Swedish politics. I want to do the same. We need to be able to take risks to make gains, and that is only possible with a forward-looking perspective. Not that you might have forgotten, but I would also like to remind you that you promised me a position in exchange for my support at the Assembly. Yeah, well, we'll see, bruh. I trust your judgment. Cool beans, dude. I'll consider it. Thank you, Mr. President. Alban got up and left. I leaned back in my chair, thinking about the pros and cons of each of my vice presidential candidates. I could almost hear Petr's voice in my head, laughing at the absurdity of my situation. But, of course, he wasn't there. Ooh, alright. Well, let's go ahead and select our new vice president. The vice president position remains vacant after the events of the scandal and has to be filled by a capable person that the administration and party can trust. Several options have been laid out by the cabinet, and we need to make a decision immediately. It's Lucian. Why would we do anything else? New journal entry. Let's see. Oh. Yep, so saying that Liviusino is a remembering spy, and Lucian is the new president. Alright, I don't think any of that was super necessary, but that's okay. Alright, well, let's just finish up this little storyline by heading back to the palace. Lucy and I were on our way to my office. I was holding a mug of coffee in one hand and a folder of various documents in the other. As we turned a corner, Lucian spoke.
The Ashraf anniversary is coming up soon. The most important day for the Bluish populace. What's on the Ashraf is one of the symbols, as you know. Your presence at this event would show your desire for more unified Solden. We will reap the benefits if you decide to go, I'm sure.
Yeah, you're probably right. Lucian nodded. We rounded another corner to reach the last corridor leading to my office. Lucian suddenly stopped in front of one of the doors. The plaque that once said Vice President Petr Vectrin had been removed. The door was halfway open, and I could see a few workers moving boxes around the room. One of them saw us, bowed his head, and changed the name tag on the door to Vice President Lucian Galad. Another handyman dropped a heavy-looking box on the desk. A crunching sound was heard from within.
Be careful with that. Mr. President, this move requires my personal attention. We shall discuss the Ashraf matter later.
It's good to have you as my Vice President, Lucian.
And I'm glad to have you as my President, sir.
I entered my office and asked Sylvia for a second cup of coffee to wake me up. Another long day was waiting for me. Awesome. Alright. Let's see. So, political overview is just switching Lucian over to our Vice President as well as our Chief Strategist and Chief of Staff. Which seems odd, but that's okay. Alright. Set up the newspaper here. In the Whole Sword Post, Lucian Galad rises to the task. Following the unforeseen departure of Petr Vectrin, as expected, President Rain has picked Lucian Galad as new Vice President. Mr. Galad is an enigmatic figure among the ESP members. He is known to be highly efficient and a task-oriented individual that takes pride in honesty. As part of the Rain campaign and as his chief strategist, he has years of experience working with President Rain. Mr. Galad will begin serving his post immediately. Perfect. Alright. And I know we have this briefing on the women's rights situation here, but I think ending it with just that whole episode with the Vice President sounds like as good a way to do this as any. So we'll pick up with that when we come back. So, as always, thank you very much for watching, and I hope to see you all next time.